Thursday, it is one of the worst days of the week to wear a luxury watch. Police say criminal gangs are targeting people on Thursday, Friday and Saturday nights in central London.
But they've been taking action. Undercover cops sporting Rolexes and Patek Philippe's have been baiting thieves in crime hotspots like Soho. Now, footage released shows them being tasered and wrestled to the ground by those undercover cops.
300 watches worth around £4 million were stolen in just 3 London boroughs between April and September of 2022. The initiative's seen 27 luxury watch thieves caught. 21 are already behind bars.
And the force says it's cut watch robberies by nearly half. So the police are doing a great job. We're joined now by former commander of the Specialist Operations Group at New Scotland Yard, Roy Ram, who helped establish the Met's first undercover unit. Roy, before we talk about specifics, a lot of people criticise the police because there's not enough policemen and women on the streets getting intel and arresting criminals. This is good to hear. This is a positive, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. It's exactly what the cops should be doing. You know, London, major world city, we cannot possibly have a situation where people, visitors, residents, whoever, feel unsafe in our city, and particularly in places like Soho, which are, key places for entertainment. You've got to be able to go out, enjoy yourself, and get home safely, and not face being robbed by these thugs. And it's not just the theft of the watch, bad enough as it is, but we've seen these young men using machetes, a huge amount of violence, very dangerous robberies.
So, Roy, talk us through what we know of this undercover police operation. Police obviously go out sporting these watches. There's a team of them and they're waiting for someone to try and take them.
So any undercover operation is kind of the culmination of a lot of intelligence work. It's studying where offences have happened. It's looking at other data that's coming in about who might be involved, and there will be a lot of intelligence coming into the investigating officers about that. Then there's a risk assessment. How dangerous is this? We're putting undercover police officers out there. How can we protect them? And that's about making sure that you've got backup officers very close by, and also making sure that the evidential trail is right. You cannot act as agent provocateur. You can't provoke the crime. You can be passive about it in the same way that you can, undercover officers can buy drugs and can buy firearms and all those kinds of things, providing the evidence chain is solid. It's a very, very compelling case when you bring it to court.
As a police officer, as somebody involved in undercover work, is there a specific unit? Is there specific training? Can certain policemen and women volunteer for that? Or how does that work, Roy?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's a bit of a myth that sometimes anybody in plain clothes is thought to be undercover. Well, that's not true. What happens is that at Scotland Yard, there is a department which, in a way, it's almost like a tool shop, and that's the way we used to describe it, of specially trained officers, specially equipped, they've got the right look, the right lifestyle in all kinds of different areas. And an investigating officer will come to that department and will say, look, I've got this problem. Do you think using a UC, an undercover officer or officers, can help me solve it? The case is assessed, and then the relevant officers, the undercover officers, are provided. The whole circumstances of the operation are assessed, and they are used specifically for that operation.
Roy, in this specific instance, it's about making somewhere like Soho safer and obviously finding and apprehending the people committing these crimes. Why is the strategy to have sort of police go out to then be victims? Why is that a better strategy than just having police, obvious, visible police, patrolling the streets?
Well, because having obvious police patrolling the streets is great, but it's a deterrent, and determined robbers will just wait until those police officers are no longer about. So you have to try and get some focus in your policing. There are not enough police officers to be on all streets all of the time. So what this operation has done, it has kind of focused the police activity, and it's also focused the criminals' activity, so that the two end up in the same place at the same time.
What sort of people, kids, teen, whatever, are in these gangs? Are they? What is it? Is it drug related? Who is it?
It's mostly gang related. That they are mostly from inner London estates. They come into central London, they commit their crime. And there was a very interesting documentary on one of the channels the other night about these young guys. They're somewhere between, you know, some as young as 15 who are spotters, or even younger, who are identifying people who've got the watches on. And then in come the older guys, very often on motor scooters, commit the robbery and get back to the estates. And they are selling these watches for a fraction of their value. So they might steal a watch which is 20, 30,000 pounds, and they're selling it for 2, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds to dishonest handlers who are also being targeted, because, you know, unless these kids can sell the watches, they're not of really great value to them.
This obviously is a story about watches, but I just go back to something Rosie quite rightly said, Roy. And I know we always talk about numbers of police, but when I was growing up, you had officers on the beat who got intel by keeping their ear to the ground. They knew it was going, and that was preventative. And also, I lived in a world where, you know, people were scared of the police. Apparently nowadays, people just laugh at the police. But surely when anybody looks at this sort of operation, it shows the effectiveness of our police force, which is supposed to control our country, being on the streets, whether it's in plain clothes or in uniform. Surely that has to be a damn deterrent, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is a deterrent. I absolutely agree with you, and I think it's very reassuring for the public to see a uniformed police presence out there. But time and time again, determined criminals will circumvent those uniformed patrols. So you have to have kind of split level policing. Yes, give that reassurance, but also make sure that you are using the intelligence that you've got to focus your quite limited resources in the places where they're most needed. And I think this is a stunning operation, and it's great for the Met to be out there showing that it is doing something about violent crime on the streets of London. What we don't want to see is London becoming seen as some sort of crime capital of the world. It's not. It's had the murder rate is going down. There are good things to be said about policing in London, and I think this exemplifies it.